Happy Wife, Happy Life.
We're your hosts. I'm Kendahl Landreth.
I'm Jordan Myrick.
And we are two incredibly unqualified,
but deeply in love comedians who are here to help you with all things relationship. And today we have Cameron Esposito here with us to talk amicable breakups and moving on.
Wow.
Hello.
Wow.
Thanks for being here.
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to be here. You both look so cute.
Oh
You've
my
got
God.
A lot to say about this kind of sort of practical tennis shoe as a punk rock statement.
Let's hear about
Thank
it.
you.
Well, no, just you know what I don't have is a single tattoo.
Me
Sure.
neither.
And
Neither do I.
Wait, are you serious?
The only three lesbians in the
So
world.
that's what I feel like. I feel like the snake is eating its own tail.
Yeah.
We're like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. The wildest thing you could do is be covered tip to tail
Yeah.
with tattoos.
Yeah.
But now, my pristine slate,
Mhm.
that feels
Badass.
pretty rock and roll.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, what's your reasoning behind it? Because for me, I'm like, I know I would regret it because I would pick the worst tattoo.
Yeah.
And what I like changes so constantly. And I know that if I started getting tattoos a while ago, I would have a mustache on my finger. For sure.
Understood. You know, I feel like for me, when I was younger, I think it was like maybe fear-based. And then also, you know, I was all over the place. I had a lot of different thoughts, different days.
Yeah.
And the time that I've been the closest to getting a tattoo, which was immediately a large like breastbone tattoo
Sure.
that a tattoo artist actually talked me out of. I was also in a manic episode because I have bipolar disorder. And
Sure.
so now I know maybe just no tattoos.
Can I ask what it... You cannot answer, of course, but what the breastbone tattoo would be?
It was like a very it was like an animal bursting from my chest.
Wow.
That's really giving mania, I will say.
Relaxing.
like
relaxing.
Twilight style.
But
like
I
the
will
baby coming out of her.
Yeah, or Alien. Wow. That's a classic one.
Interesting.
I think that, you know, that's how it feels to be in a manic episode, is that your heart is leaving your body.
Sure.
And I didn't really know that's what was happening at the time, but now looking back, I'm like, boy, did I really visually nail it for myself. But hopefully not ever do that.
Man.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the opposite of the two of you. I've been this exact way and looked almost this exact same way since I was born. And I have the same interests that I've had most of my life.
Wow.
I've been very consistent. Mostly just don't have tattoos out of fear of my dad
Sure.
being disappointed in me.
Yep.
That's probably the biggest one. And then secondly, laziness. A lot of money, a lot of time to actually go actively do it. And then third, they really scare you out of it in acting school.
Can I ask you a question about your hair?
Please.
Is that when you said you
Yes.
look like this since you're a teeny baby?
Yes.
Is this the hair?
So as with all white people, I used to be blonde,
I see.
but I had this same haircut. So I used to be blonde and have straight blonde hair until I got my period when I was about 10.
Okay.
And then my hair became brown and curly.
Right.
But I've always had this haircut. I've always had front bangs.
Thank God. Well, first of all, there's something to revisit there, but thank God you don't have blonde hair anymore because this would be so tough.
But
because
it's
do
already-
you both have blue eyes?
green eyes.
Green eyes.
Which
We
is
both
not
have
common.
green eyes.
Not common, and we both have green eyes.
Oh my God.
We are absolutely related.
And
You
you're-
don't have to
you're-
track it that far back.
So there's a taller situation. You're taller.
Unfortunately,
by a little.
she is taller,
By
yes.
by 1 inch.
She's 5'11", I'm
Oh.
5'9".
No, I am not.
Yes, you are.
I'm 5'9", and I go to the doctor, and they tell me that.
She's
and-
not 5'9", because I'm 5'9". I'm 5'9", she's
Well,
5'11".
But we
You all are too
definitely-
tall. You got to shrink. The
How tall are you?
classic. Well, 5'4", babe.
You're
That's a good
really
one.
small.
I actually am teenier than one would think.
You're
I think,
so tiny.
especially on stage. I think I have a big kind of commanding presence.
Of course.
but I'm the same size as all the other, I think, icons, if I may say, Tegan and Sarah, Brandi Carlile, the Indigo Girls.
Tegan and Sarah are shorter than that, aren't they?
They're tinier than you, I feel
No,
like.
well they're I think they're 5'2" or 5'3".
Small.
But
I got
together,
figurines bigger than y'all.
Yeah.
Why are you so
Of
small?
what?
What's
Figurines
going on?
of what? What are your interests?
The gremlin.
Oh, come
The
on,
gremlin.
not the lady gremlin.
She's so sexy. I love her.
She's too small to be me.
I-
Plus, look at that. Lipstick, never one time.
Sure,
would I
you two
even
are
do that.
different. I'm not saying
Yeah,
you're the
okay.
same, but I'm saying
the
I
same
do have
height.
figurines bigger than you.
Oh my God.
I was so jealous
Yes.
of people like you growing up.
Yes.
I feel like my whole growing up was me and a very tiny girl playing a game, and she lost, and then she started crying, and then a teacher or a parent had to come over and be like, Jordan, you're so big and disgusting. Why were you so mean to that very small baby? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, we're actually the exact same age, and she was being mean to me, and they're like, no, you're simply too big. Because I hit maybe 5'7" in like the first or second grade, so I was legally a giant.
My best friend, and we've been friends since for over 30 years. And we went to grade school, high school, and college together. We've known everybody each other has ever met. And she's 5'10", and she was 5'10" when we were in 5th grade.
Yeah.
And so I know a little bit about what you're talking about, only because I saw what her experience was when she was taller than the teachers. And in like school pictures, they obviously
Back
had to put her
center.
in the very, very back.
Yeah.
And she's like looking down on the teacher. I mean, I think this was a lot. But for me, because I've kind of always been a sports guy and then transitioned to the job that I have as a stand-up comic, I don't know what size I am.
I
Is
need to
one thing
ask
I'll
a
say about
question.
me.
When you say you transitioned to the job you have now, were you a professional athlete?
No, that's
You're really being generous with the word transition, it feels like. So you just did sports and
Well,
then became a comedian.
I think what I mean by that is like, you know how a lot of, you talk about theater school or whatever. I never took like a single acting class or like, I actually had never taken an improv class before I was a professional improviser.
Wow.
Rude.
I just, I'm sorry.
You're so small and you're so talented. It's
Then
very
I
rude.
got to go back and take them for free because I was already working at the theater.
Wow.
But my point is, I was a big jock. That's like it was like
Well, you were a small jock.
Yeah,
Tiny
yeah,
little
I was a
baby
small
jock.
Damn, Lil Jock coming to NBC this fall.
jock. And then, started doing started doing improv, sort of was working professionally, started doing stand-up. And then I always thought, like, I would be the wrong thing for any sort of TV. Well, first of all, for stage, and then certainly for, like, television. I moved to Los Angeles because I wanted to be able to afford a couch. And in Chicago, I had hit the limit.
And you thought
it
Los
was-
Angeles
and it was
would be where that
pre-couch.
would
I was like,
come
listen,
to
man,
fruition.
you moved to LA, you can get one couch. Shoot,
They're just handing couches out
And
over
it did
there.
work for you. That's what's always interesting. It did work for you. And now you have, I'm guessing, more than one couch.
I have 2 couches.
I knew
They're
it.
for us.
I knew it.
2 couches for someone so small. Come on. What the heck?
And I'm bigger than my wife. She's smaller than me.
It's like a little mouse pack.
Yeah,
2 couches. That's amazing.
That's sweet. I think it's very endearing when people find people the same size as them.
It is endearing. I've not always dated people that were my same size. I have, I'll be honest. I've always been surrounded by like tall people, like friends. I always have like very tall friends. Then that's why I think I'm the same size as them. That's incorrect.
Sure.
And, I dated like super jock dudes who were either basketball players or football players. So they were kind of tall. And, I have an ex-husband who's a lot taller than me. And I just happened into this relationship now where when we are buying a couch, you have to go to the store and make sure that your feet can hit the ground. I mean, even right now, if I leaned back, like if I was sitting how you all are sitting.
Wow.
See, we have the opposite problem. We have to sit all the way back, pressed against the chair. Because if we don't, we're just, we sit at the edge.
It's sick.
Scary.
But I actually am into that. I thought that was cool. I thought that was really
Wild. Thank you. Okay, now I do want to touch on this.
Yes.
How do you identify? Who do you date? I know you're married, so you're dating no one. But who conceptually do you date?
I identify as queer and also, I guess, lesbian.
Yeah.
But not necessarily in a, I dated dudes. I think I was friends with those dudes.
Great. Cool.
I then after that dated a series of people that at the time I dated them, all identified as women. I will say that now, 2 of these people have transitioned, not from athletes into stand-up comics, but
The hardest of transitions.
they have
the one that the government's attacking.
they have transitioned, and so I have ex-boyfriend and I have an ex-boyfriend and an ex-husband. And I actually think that's pretty awesome. It's a real privilege to have, been identifying as lesbian, identifying as queer for so long, and then, realize I was actually sharing a lot of space and time and love with dudes because I don't hate dudes. I just find that a certain percentage, and it's about 10 of dudes hate me.
Only 10 hate you.
Maybe it's more.
You
a lot
seem
of men,
like someone that men would love.
a lot of men really love me.
Yeah.
And I get, I actually only recently had to try really hard to make female friends besides this best friend because I didn't think we had a lot in common. We can come back to that.
We'll touch on that.
We do have a lot in common, but
You and the friend or you and women in general?
me and women.
Cool.
I was like, well, because I also am I identify as, a gender fluid, like gender non-conforming person. And I didn't ever think I was like enough of a girl or enough of a woman to be part of the team.
Yeah.
And that's been a huge area of growth for me where I realized that like actually women haven't necessarily been pushing me out of the membership. I just have been opting out.
Yeah.
And so now I have this funny, it's like I have a queer circle of friends and like these dude friends who are all giant. And then I have this like group of women that I'm friends with and they're all like really girly straight women that are like a group of friends that I joined recently for my birthday. We went out to dinner and they were all wearing a very cute turtleneck sweater.
Oh.
I can see some turtlenecks in the room
We're
with
both
us
wearing
now.
turtlenecks, yeah.
They were all wearing a very cute turtleneck sweater and like a certain type of jeans, and something was going on with their hair that all seemed pretty similar.
Sure.
In like a aesthetic, even though there's a lot of differences between them. And then I was wearing like pretty large pants with workout yoga shorts underneath them and a crop top with no arms. And
That's cool.
Yeah, I thought we look different.
Yes.
But also, member of the team.
Exactly.
I don't think they care. I think they actually kind
No.
of think I'm cool.
Yeah.
That's so nice. We talk about that a lot on this podcast because Kendahl and I both identify as gender queer and also lesbian, but also like I guess sexually queer in general. And I'm like, lately with the internet lesbian community, I'm like, do you guys want to be New York City police officers? Like, relax. What's wrong with you? Like, one time Kendahl was like, Channing Tatum's hot, and they were like, then you're not a lesbian. And I'm like, you have to go to the hospital. You have to go to some kind of like psychiatric care facility to receive help for how kind of heterosexually obsessed you are. Because I'm like, queerness is a spectrum, and if you personally don't feel like it's a spectrum for you, that is your business, and I love that for you. But historically, this community has always been very spectrum based, very open, and it's like all these people just now wanting to be like, well, this is this and this is that. I'm like, relax.
One thing I will say, so first of all, I couldn't agree more, and second of all, I do disagree with Channing Tatum. And that's just
Okay,
like...
be careful.
Yeah. He's a friend of the
Letting you
show,
know.
so you need to be careful.
He's a friend of the show!
He's a huge friend of the show.
I like his dancing.
Thank you. That's good.
He's just not my type.
I get that. Who's
Although
your type?
my high school boyfriend, actually, I guess maybe that's who he looks like the most. Well, one of them. Who's my type? Jason Momoa, as you know.
Very hot.
Okay.
Jason Momoa is extremely hot.
And there's something like a little feminine that he's okay with, even though he also has a giant muscular body.
Sure.
And again, that's actually kind of the same size person I think I am in my mind. There's something about Jason Momoa where I think if I slept with this guy, I'd finally have a chance to fuck myself.
Wow.
That is a lot to take in.
I think that's
that you
an
think that.
absolutely beautiful level
I
of
love
confidence.
that.
I think that's truly incredible.
Wow.
I think I look like that. When I see myself, I think that guy, Harry Styles, and Bowie. Like, that's who I think I look like.
I actually do get that. I get that.
You
I
do
get
look
that.
like Harry Styles.
I was going to say, Harry Styles felt right. You dress kind of like Harry Styles, and that's a compliment.
He's so cute.
Yeah.
He has given me so much room to actually kind of open the, again, like perceived femininity of clothing, because the way he dresses is so, he's next. Yeah. He's like in the Bowie line of Ascension or Prince or whatever, where they're like doing gender fuckage, but he's also such a sex symbol. Anyway, I'd like to say to him, thank you.
I love that.
Yeah, for like making the room so that I know what I can wear and still preserve my,
and I think it's hard because even with the straight women you were speaking of, where they all dress the same, I think what is hard is like, a lot of them may not even want to dress like that. But I think it's very hard because, and I remember talking to my therapist being like, I'm not, like, I don't want to dress like a boy, you know what I mean? But I also don't want to dress like a girl. And these clothes just don't really exist. And like now brands are starting to like have more androgynous clothing and stuff like that. But I think they're like, sometimes with clothes, you're just like, what is there for that I fit into? That's fine. That works. And it's really hard to like cultivate a closet that's androgynous. And it takes like a lot of time. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I kind of do want to dress like a boy, but like a flaming, like over the top, like, you know.
Yes.
I want to
Like
dress
Harry
like
Styles.
I want to dress like a showman, you know?
I regularly big top hat. Yes.
Like I do.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
do.
regularly feel jealous of very flamboyant gay men. Regularly.
Yeah. And also, weirdly, I think this is so wild, I think I want them to be straight. That is how, it's, this is like, I think where I
To date
imagine. I think that when I look at like a straight boy who's very flamboyant and a showman, that's, again, who I think I am.
Well, that's like I'm very attracted to Jason Statham.
Jason Statham is extremely cool. Again, not really like my type,
No.
but I really think he has a great sense of humor
He's
and is
one
like
of the
a
funniest people.
terrific actor.
And such a good stuntman. Such a good fighter.
incredible.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you can watch someone fight really well, like, it's hot. When I watch Jackie Chan movies, I'm like, look at how good he is at karate.
It is really hot. I would like to also go back to the idea that like you can be a queer person or a lesbian and think men are attractive, which I love. I will also add that although I believe one can think men are attractive, I believe I believe that not just me, but it's my personal belief that nobody should find it attractive when men kiss women on the shoulder from behind. This is in television and film a lot.
Okay.
And it's so disgusting.
I feel like this is something you like, and I feel like they've done it
You
on
like
Bridgerton, and
this?
you like it.
This
I
is
feel like you would like that.
Disgusting.
It's it depends on how they shoot it in a movie. If it's like you don't see him and then he kind of pops up, no, I don't like that. But if Channing Tatum kind of comes in, I like it. I will say, I think there's something bizarre about being gay. Like, being a lesbian and the couple men I am attracted to, you would think it would be the opposite. I think you'd think like, oh, you'd like kind of a girly man.
Yeah.
But I think I see straight women be like, I love Timothée Chalamet. And I'm like,
Boo.
that's crazy to me. But you'd think I would like him as a lesbian. But when there ever is a man I want to date, it's like a Jason Statham, a Channing Tatum. And I think it's because the one thing a woman can't give me, and honestly most men could never give me, is someone just like lifting me over their head.
I definitely want to be picked up, just classically. I also, I'm so glad I have the experience of, being the picker-upper. Because I'm actually quite strong.
You have
despite
incredible arms. Show your arms.
Oh, they're like not like.
Oh,
they're
my
not
God.
like. They're not. I haven't.
I've seen him before.
Come
I'll see him again.
I think the tricep is really where I'm shining these days. How
Wow.
can you show that?
They're incredible. Yeah.
But picking up is we got a lot of legs in that. I can do that, but I do want to. One of the guys I dated, I wasn't really interested at all, but he could put me on his shoulders during concerts.
Huge. Huge.
I didn't even really like. He wasn't a nice guy. I dated a lot of nice men. This guy was not nice.
Right.
But he had that going for him, and that's almost impossible to
Wow.
turn away from.
And so you've had a lot of exes.
I have had
as
a
we
lot of
most
exes.
all have.
Yeah.
And you now are married.
I am married, yeah.
Which is an absolute
second marriage. I'm in a second marriage zone, which I think I don't know. I know that this is becoming more common, but just because of how long we've been able to be married.
Yeah.
Given that both people I married at the time I married them had like a W on their driver's license, I do think it's like, kind of a particular feat to be on my second marriage.
You want us to be impressed by the fact that you're on your second.
I think if I was on my third, then you could really be like, whoa,
Relax,
like
yeah.
not relax.
You'd want us to be more impressed.
I think you'd be like, wow, how did you achieve
Like,
this?
how many people did you get through?
Boom, 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 boom. You know?
Wow. Okay. Well, that's a good way to look at it.
Well, what I will say is 2 marriages to me is impressive. And we've talked about this on the show before. We're like, 2 marriages is really hot because that person is like, they know what didn't work last time. They've been through like they have a lot of knowledge and wisdom. But I think some people hesitate to get married that second time because they're like, well, marriage was so bad before. It didn't end well. Did you hesitate at all? Or were you like, no, let's go 2 for 2. Let's go again.
I really always wanted to be a married person. It's just like true. I also, I spent a lot of my life as a dirtbag, right? Like, a stand-up comic in their 20s is not known for their stability nor their
Decorum.
Yeah, decorum or good choices, right? Yeah. And like if I were to go back to that time and sort of describe it to you, like I rode a bicycle as my mode of transportation, and I wore like jorts, and I also carry a backpack with like my notebooks in it, and it had those water bottle things on the side, you know. And I would keep in there 2 bottles of Pepto-Bismol. Because
2 is crazy.
2 is crazy.
You just
you
needed one.
You chug through the first, and anyway. So my point is,
makes it seem like you and a friend were going to team up and shotgun them.
yeah. The first thing you do once you get a bottle of Pepto-Bismol that you're going to put in the side pocket in your backpack is throw away the measuring cup.
Yep.
Because that's not how you're.
Because you're on your bike.
This.
That's flying off immediately.
It's on the go, man. But the reason I'm saying all that is I feel like I front loaded a lot of like backpacking, like riding buses on the East Coast, or like moving to Europe with absolutely no objects, or being in the circus. There's a lot of things that I did.
Were you?
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. We'll get into that a little bit later.
It's almost better if you gloss over that.
Yeah. I don't want to know anymore.
Yeah. And I feel like I front loaded all that, and then I got, into my 30s and then my mid 30s, and I was like, what experiences I haven't had? Like domesticity.
Relaxation.
Yeah, relaxation. Holidays.
Yeah.
A night off. Like there's just a lot of things I hadn't experienced.
Yes, I totally get that.
Absolutely. Now, I'm curious. Do you think an amicable breakup is generally the way to go?
Number one, no. Leave them in the fucking dust.
That's what I think. That is what I think.
I only have like 2 people that I dated who, maybe 3. The boy with the shoulders. That's not.
What do you do at concerts?
No, I don't go to concerts.
Oh, God.
Actually,
Yeah, you had to
come
stop
on,
going.
be honest. I go to the VIPs.
All right.
Side stage, backstage.
Yeah.
That's
I go to the VIP
the way.
section and
Yeah.
I sit on Malia Obama's shoulders
Yes!
with my good friends.
For sure. No, like those 2. And then there's like 2 other people I don't have great relationships with. I think they were more attached than I was, which I think is also true for that boy. I think that one is hard to hang on to when there's like a big differential in attachment. But I think when there's an equal level of attachment after a moment, I think it can be really possible to, develop a sweet friendship. I don't think one should become, incredibly close friends, except of course in the case of like, for me, somebody I was previously married to, there was such a level of like commitment and intimacy. We also worked together. And so that person, I'm, interested in like a sort of, we also work in the same field. It's like unavoidable. It's like the choice is like,
have it be bad or have it be good.
yeah, the choice is like close friends or like weirdness forever. So anyway, really excited about that situation.
Yeah.
But I think one of the best ways to stay amicable with one's ex is to move on.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, you don't have to move on by dating or marrying somebody else, but like certainly cauterize that wound, however long that takes, and not by continuing to have sex if you bring up.
It's a good place to start.
But, I could go through some of the things I've done that weren't that effective. Like,
Having sex.
I'm trying to think if I've actually done. I have done that.
But what do you think is the benefit? Because to me, when people are like, well, we're trying to work on a friendship, I'm like, why? But like, why? Like, what have you ever been like, no? And I understand with like that example, you like work together. So you have to have some sort of working relationship. But in general, what do you find is the benefit to keeping a relationship with an ex?
Here's what I'm saying. I don't think it's a close relationship situation. I'm in an unusual position where because of my job I travel a lot.
Yeah.
And so I see people that I used to date. Sometimes they'll come to shows. And it's this nice thing of like catching up in like a way that feels kind of the same way that I catch up with like my college friends.
Yeah.
I'm not incredibly tight with them, but I would love to see pictures of their children, and I kind of feel like that's the level that we should be going for. And I think especially as queer people, we might see those folks even more often than a college friend. But I think that's what we're really looking for vibe-wise. College friend.
Yeah.
And maybe some people that are listening to this are quite young and they think, but wait a minute, aren't my college friends going to be my friends forever? And the answer, and I'll deliver this directly to camera, is no.
I think what you're saying is so smart. Even just using the word vibe instead of relationship. What we're looking for is a vibe. We're not looking for a relationship with an ex, to me.
I think that, like I said, I really only have one friendship, like close friendship. And the rest are, like you're saying, a vibe. And I love that. I really also love that I know what people are up to. Like, I think that is totally permissible and awesome. Second point, if you do have somebody else in your life, they have to know about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing sneaky. And also, like, they should kind of know who that person is, where they live, like in proximity. Like, do they live in this city? And then if you see them, you have to tell the person that you're with.
That's what I'm always like, what's the long game with this? Like, I think it's the same when people break up and they're like, well, we're going to be best friends. Or someone breaks up and they're like, we're going to share custody of our dog. And I'm like, well, this is, and for some people it works. But I'm like, but what happens when someone else comes into the situation?
Well, first of all, may I say from personal experience that dog custody is the stupidest fucking thing to try in the world.
You did?
Yeah, I tried it. And dogs, you know who doesn't like that? Dogs.
That's what I said.
Like, dogs don't like that.
I said, and Jordan had a dog when we met. Mm-hmm. I do feel, and I mean this, like she came out of my vagina. I feel that way. And that's silly. And I haven't had real children, if you can tell.
Big dog?
Small
dog.
Could come out of her vagina.
She could come and did come out of my vagina.
Understood.
But still, we were talking about this the other day. I was like, if something ever happened, I really do think I would be heartbroken. But I would be like, one of us keeps the dog. Like, keep the dog.
Yeah.
Whoever's staying in the house keeps the dog. Whoever, I mean, your parents live closer, so you keep the dog. And I would cry myself to sleep. But I'm like, the dog does not want to pack up a little duffel bag and go from house to house. And in my head, my dog literally thinks I'm its mother and like thinks about me all the time. But she probably would forget about me after 2 months.
Or she would like know about you, but be able to be where she is.
But yeah, because they're also so territorial. Especially our dog is so territorial. It's like she wants to be in her house. She doesn't want two houses that she's going up to. So it always feels very bizarre to me.
I think that in my experience, a dog needs a place where they feel comfortable. And I will also add that it's, I have heard, and I believe this is like, dogs don't have a sense of time. So just imagine that she would just always think you're about to come home.
Oh God, that's devastating.
It's devastating.
She said, couple more minutes.
That is like actually one of the reasons I had to step away from this situation is that my former dog would sit waiting at the door. And I was like, listen, kid. I don't know. This is too much. This is too much, bro.
Way too much. But then if I
Of course, I was also seated at the door waiting.
Yeah. The dog was mimicking your behavior.
Yeah. We do a segment called Red Flag, Green Flag.
Ooh.
So every single week we are going to say our little red flag, our green flag. And this week we're going to do green flag.
Mm-hmm. Things are really negative. So we thought we'd go green flag this week.
Keep
Talk
positive.
about things that are
That's
positive.
so tender and appropriate.
We're very
trying,
sweet. We're
We're
very sweet.
We're trying, but we'll just each one of us say a green flag that maybe has been resonating with us recently. I'll start. I'll say a green flag for me is somebody who's not squeamish.
Oh, okay.
I love if somebody's like, oh, you just threw up? Let me clean it up. Oh, you got a cut? You're bleeding? Let me suck the blood off your finger.
Oh, wow.
Whatever it is. I'm like, somebody who's not squeamish, that feels so selfless to me. I understand people are going to be like, I can't help that I'm squeamish. I can't help that I faint when I see blood. That's fine. But to me, when I interact with somebody that's not squeamish at all, I'm like, that person would be a good mother to a child.
Wow.
I say that person would take care of me.
Yes.
And I like that. And maybe that's me projecting because my mommy is a caretaker. My mommy's a nurse and she's not squeamish at all. So when I see someone else that I say, oh, you're a good caretaker, just like my mommy.
Are we allowed to, can I tell you something truly disgusting?
Yeah,
Please.
Let's go.
I'd prefer it.
Yeah, I had like 6 months this year when I was incredibly ill.
Okay.
And I like
6
actually almost
months?
passed away.
But you're better now.
I am a lot better now
Thank God.
after 6
Oh my
surgeries. It was bad.
God.
And during
I'm
this
so sorry.
I don't know what else to say about it.
Okay.
It's what
That's
happened. But
terrible.
anyway,
Okay.
it's gonna have a point here. Okay.
Thank God it relates back to me.
It relates back to you, and it's like a green flag, and it's like something I didn't know to even wonder about in a relationship. So part of this is that I had C. diff, which is like a really bad thing that happens in your intestine.
Absolutely.
And it was already really, really bad, but I needed to be tested, and I actually couldn't make it to the hospital. But I already had an infectious diseases doctor. So what they said was just do like an at-home, again, so sorry to the listeners, stool sample kit.
I've done
and
this.
bring it in, right? But I was incredibly ill, very, very ill, and unable to prep that myself. And so my wife did.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, what you have to do is like you have to go poop in a small potty. You gotta go poop in the potty.
Yep.
A little fake potty. You gotta go poop in a little fake potty.
That's actually very respectable because when I had to do it, I just put a plastic bag from Gristedes on the floor and I went to the bathroom in that.
Can I ask you some follow-up questions?
Please.
Did you then put it into a stool sample container?
Yes.
Or did okay.
I just took the Gristedes. No, I scooped a little with a plastic spoon into the stool sample bag.
That's horrible.
That's what you have to do. You have
and
to
then
scoop.
I walked around Midtown Manhattan with it and took it to the doctor. It's not a great system they have, but
no, you have
know,
to sift and scoop. And my point is, so I so ill, had to go poop in the potty, left, wife came in, scooped it, scooperoonie.
What did I say? That's a caretaker.
I couldn't even. It's not something we can talk about.
And you
not
fell
on
more
her
in
end,
love with her,
but on my
in
end.
that moment.
I just thought, okay, you know what I mean. I thought, wow.
Would you do that for her?
I'm sure I would. I don't think it's something that you can pre-plan, knowing.
Okay.
You know, like I'm sure I would. We've had our fair share of. But
I
like,
mean, you
how
have
many-
to. You can't break up then. That's a terrible time to break up with
like,
someone.
you know, if somebody's about to bite the dust, I feel like it's like, I think that your head is also elsewhere. Like you're not
Yes.
totally present.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Your body prepares your mind to do things that you wouldn't normally do if your loved one is dying.
Yeah.
You also know the person's going to be like, I can't believe they're doing this for me.
Yeah.
Which is incentive to be like, I'm going to look like I really, this
That's
is
totally
fine.
true. She
Hero behavior.
absolutely had no choice but to be like, actually, just FYI, I'd do it again. You know what I mean? Like, there's no other choice.
Absolutely. I love that. Kendahl, your green flag?
My green flag is, and I think this, is debatable, but we've been watching a lot of Toddlers and Tiaras recently.
Oh, okay.
We've been doing a rewatch. And I used to be like, how horrible. This is absolutely terrible. These parents are terrible. This is so traumatizing. And it is. But I am kind of saying green flag is putting your kids in pageants. I think the more I watch it, the parents can be bad, sure. But if I was the parent, a famously probably good parent, I'm like, I've seen some kids recently, and I think a lot of them could use it to go up on stage, dance to royalty-free music, and then be told they're ugly. I really do think so.
What do you think
it's
is
hard
the benefit?
work. I think they learn that sometimes no matter how hard you work, you lose because of your natural abilities and what you're born into.
Sure.
I think they learn that not everything's about them. And I think they learn that public speaking is an important skill, and they need to be able to go up on stage and shake their ass and give it all they got.
What I like about what you just said is it did make it sound like public speaking is going on stage and shaking your ass. Because the particular
Yeah.
It can be.
syntax
It can be.
of that statement.
I
That's
think-
the right word.
No, that's the syntax.
But it's what I said.
That's the syntax.
I just think there has to be, and I think some of the parents, they take it too far and they're bad. But I was even saying, I used to be like, well, natural pageants are a little more ethical. I think it's the opposite. Because to me, that's so sad. To have a kid go up their natural look.
What is a natural
So
pageant?
there's two.
No
there's
glitz.
There's glitz.
Wait, what?
No
Hang
glitz.
on,
For children.
I gotta get all the way.
You gotta come over. You gotta be watching this.
Sit on my lap.
What you say?
There's glitz.
Okay.
Well, there's semi-glitz,
Okay.
high glitz, and natural. And a lot of parents who think they're better than everyone else are like, I only put my kid in natural pageants because she's a child and it's her to me, that's fucked. You have your kid up on stage, hardly any makeup, their natural hair, natural skin tone, and someone's like, you're not pretty enough for us today. That's hard. To me, glitz, it's like drag. These kids, they're spray tanned 8 shades darker than they naturally are. They're babies.
Right.
They have fake hair in. They have
Fake
fake teeth.
Right.
They're sometimes colored contacts.
Right.
This is not a reflection. Whatever they win is not a reflection of them. So to me, at this point, we're doing a costume contest. They know responsibility because some of them don't practice the way they should and they don't win. But then some of them don't practice. And guess what, Cameron? They've got natural talent.
You know
And
what?
they pull it through. And I think there's just a lot of lessons in pageantry that I'm bringing it back.
You know, one thing that this helps me with is, you know, sometimes people might ask, do you wear makeup in your day-to-day life? Like to anybody, right? And I'm always like, you know, not really. I don't really wear makeup. But now what I'll say is I actually go natural pageant.
And they'll know what you mean.
Yeah.
And they'll respect it.
Right.
Because they're the most ruthless.
Yeah, you go natural. You go full natural. You don't have fake
Yeah,
teeth.
I came here today natural pageant.
Yeah. You left your big clip-on wig.
I did, yeah.
The fall, as
Yeah.
they call it.
Now, some
You left
stuff's
that
too
at home?
far. I wouldn't let my kid do the swimsuit stuff. Because what are we doing here?
I mean, number one, I have both actually worn a clip-on wig. Of
course.
in circus, doesn't matter.
No,
Again,
don't,
gloss.
no more. Don't say anything else about that.
And I, you know, I was a swimmer. I have certainly spent so much time in a swimsuit around just all different kinds of people.
Yeah.
Your parents' friends,
Yeah.
the boy you're dating, his parents.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then at that point, all the choice is body shame or no body shame. Of course, I chose body shame.
Sure.
Of course.
And I work on
As
that
we
to this
most
day.
did.
Yeah. What else? What else would you choose?
Well, there is something beautiful, I will say, because we all know what we looked like in 3rd grade. I feel like we all had the same body in 3rd
Oh,
grade.
what did you, wait,
to
what's
me-
this body?
You know, you get
That?
your little... yeah.
kind of shaped like a kind of torpedo-like almost.
I think in
That's
3rd
what I
grade,
was.
you
Yeah.
get kind of like a beer belly for some reason.
Because
like,
well, you know what it
you're so-
is? I think what it is it's that period of time where you still have your baby fat, but you're about to get your period, so you're developing like quote unquote woman fat. So you have this period where it's just kind of like your body is both childlike and womanly at the same time. So you become just kind of I don't know if I want to say the word oblong. Is that correct? I'm making
yes.
this
No,
gesture.
that's exactly
apple.
what
It's
it
like
is.
an apple body. I
A
think is
little
how
bit.
that's described because there's like a pear-shaped body, and then there's like an apple. Apple
yeah.
is
Kinda
a solid
solid in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's solid.
You know,
That's a good word.
I
And
will say one of the most devastating things that's ever happened to me is that my older sister and younger sister were both dancers. So during that
Devastating.
part of their life, they stretched,
Yep. That's very traumatizing.
and I did not stretch.
Why didn't you do dance?
I did do dance. It didn't work.
I was stretching just as much.
Like their bodies went like what I mean is their bodies stretch.
Yeah.
And now we all have the same body. We all ended up in the same place, but we had a different milestones along the way.
Well, and when I
Absolutely.
see it, because I remember feeling body shame at first in like 2nd grade, you know, like looking at myself and being like, well, you just look like an idiot in the mirror, you know. And so sometimes on Toddlers and Tiaras is very upsetting. Ever so often I see a girl that looked like me in 3rd grade get up on stage in a
Right.
bikini, completely just shaking it.
Right.
She gets off stage, her mom's like, you're so hot. I'm sure this is traumatizing in 8 different ways, but I'm also kind of like, you know what? Hell yeah. Hell fucking yeah. That's awesome. She thinks she is like the hot. You can see it. You can tell she's like, I look so hot. And so is there something a
Wow.
little perverted about having children be in swimsuits 100%? But I'm just saying, I think there is. I'm just saying if I lived in the South and I had a kid right now, I could see pageantry in our future.
And you wouldn't want to have heard "you're perfect just the way you are." You'd want to have heard sexually hot. Like you'd want to.
Well, I would
appealing.
want. I'd say you need to. You need to look presentable.
Yeah.
You need to get your shit together.
Okay, got it.
So once
I'll
you put
say
your
it.
fake
Yeah,
teeth
if my
in-
parents had put me in drag and said, "You look hot," when I was 8, I would be like, "This rules."
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm
amazing.
right or wrong, but for me personally, I would have been like, "This is awesome."
Yeah.
That's what I'll say.
I mean, I think right. Yeah. So I was just watching it and I was like, there's more lessons in this than I remember. I think what's hard is the parents that get attracted to doing pageants are absolutely insane. And I'm like, if that kid had been in football, they would still be traumatized. Their parents
Right.
are nuts.
Right.
That's what's traumatizing. But if you're just putting them in a wig, flippers, and spray tanning them and be like, go dance to Madonna on stage, the instrumental version, there's some lessons to be learned.
That's
in that.
not super different from what I did in community theater.
I'm realizing there's something that maybe I could help with right now. Hey, Kendahl, you're hot.
Thank you so much.
You look so hot. Jordan, you're hot. You look so hot
Thank you
today.
so much. And you know what?
You look so hot.
You also look very hot today.
And you know that.
I need to come on.
You look incredibly hot.
Oh, come on.
You look so hot.
come on.
It's true, you do.
We just do this for
You
the
do the rest of it, yeah.
Yeah.
But we need to know your green flag. What's your green flag of the week?
So actually, it's interesting because of how much it relates to what you both are saying. Mine is somebody who has a relationship, a close relationship with either a child or an older person.
That's
Now,
nice.
caveat: the child has to be known to them. In a either they nanny for this person,
Sure.
they're a neighbor, or a family relationship.
I don't think anyone thought you were going to be
Okay,
talking about a
just
stranger
wanna be
child.
super clear.
I love an adult that finds a stranger child and takes a deep vested interest in them. I don't think anyone thought that's what you were
For
gonna be
example,
doing.
every week I go to the park and
Yeah.
there's this kid.
Yeah. So here's what I think. It's sure we can have relationships with our peers.
Yeah.
However, I think that somebody I have a niece. I just saw her very recently. She's pretty rad. I'll give you an example, and I think you'll both be like, "This is an important person to know." We were seeing some sea lions. She said this. She likes to name things. She's 7. Like she's like, and she'll be like, she's pointing at the sea lions. She says, "Okay, this is Thaddeus. This guy's Bartholomew."
Oh my God.
This is like, Ichabod or whatever. And then she points to us, and that's Kevin, Kevin 2, Kevin 3. That's funny. Just as a classic comedic
Rule of
setup.
threes.
That's funny.
Yeah, and also like long, unexpected name. Kevin 2, Kevin 3. That's funny.
It's
Very
a double
funny.
joke.
Yeah, then
That's
she went
hilarious.
to a basketball game with my mom. She was afraid of the mascot because it was a demon.
That's funny.
So my mom said, "Don't worry. Actually, that's just a nerd wearing a costume." Now, again, offense because I was, of course, the mascot from my high school. But
Well, you got to be tiny to fit in those costumes.
yeah. My mom said, "Don't worry, that's just a nerd in a costume." My niece says, "Or a stack of babies."
That's funny.
This is funny.
That's funny.
Now, for me to really understand, hey, I might have confidence about your two ability to crack a joke, but here I am relating this person as a peer. They're very young. This, I think, is a good way to be. I think this is a good way to be. To appreciate somebody as a peer who's a lot younger.
Yes.
There's a lot of things we're not a peer on. Sense of humor. Absolutely. It's a match. It's a 1-to-1.
Yeah.
I do want to know, does it scare you the younger person's coming for your job?
She's seen me do stand-up when she, even
Not
starting
pleased.
when she was young.
didn't
And
like
recently she said, she was like asking me how her show went, and she said, what was the best joke that I would have gotten? Which I thought was a great,
It's so smart. It's like she knows. She's like, I don't have a ton of knowledge because I'm this
but
age.
what would I have gotten? I thought that was a great question.
I love that because she wants to enjoy it.
She wants to enjoy it. Or I was just, final point, I was really close with my one grandma, my Nana, and like hung out with her. She, of course, I don't have to tell you, she lived till 2 days before her 100th birthday. My aunt had planned a really elaborate 100th birthday party for her. She openly said she didn't want to go, so she died, actually.
I love that.
Instead of attending.
I love that. A family of comedians.
She decided to die. And then we buried her on her 100th birthday instead. Now that's amazing.
That's really funny. Turning a birthday into a funeral is really funny.
So funny. And so anyway, my point is, if I hadn't had these experiences, I would feel so limited in my
Yes.
life. And this is my wife Katie, she's great with my niece. She had a grandmother she was really close to. I think this is what we're looking for from a green flag perspective, is somebody who understands hey, I'm going to get material out of this relationship.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I love that.
So we're about to ask questions about amicable relationships with exes, about moving on, and we asked you all on Instagram and also on Patreon, and also some of you emailed in what questions you have. So if you want to email us your question at hwhlpodquestions@gmail.com, please do so. And if you're not following us on Instagram or on Patreon, please do. All right.
If you're not following us on Instagram or Patreon, what's going on?
I don't know.
That's what I have to say. Thought I was going to get kind of more like group support from that.
No, yeah.
But never mind.
I thought something else was going to happen. I was
No.
leaving space.
That's it. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. All right. This person wants to know, how do you balance being friends with your ex's friends? My ex and I broke up amicably, but part of the reason was because I was doing all of the work to take care of our life and our relationships, and he was mostly coasting through. We were together for 4 years, and I'm now really close with some of his lifelong friends. I love those friendships and want to keep them, and I'd be very happy to be friends with him too. The problem is that he isn't someone who maintains his friendships well, so I'd be doing the work to reach out, check in, organize catch-ups. Is it okay to be better friends with his friends and just be acquaintances with him? He's a good guy, but I just don't want to be in the position of doing all the work again.
No. Stop this. You're being ridiculous.
Really? Which part?
You cannot be close friends with your ex's friends. Everybody gets to, they come in with their friends and they get to leave with their friends. I really believe that. Now, friends that were made together, that blows. Because even if parties don't claim them, there's that hurtful experience where somebody will choose. And that's the moment of like, pick me, choose me, love me. And sadly, it doesn't always go that way.
But what if it's like you've been together so long? Like you were married. You've been together so long.
How long
So
were you
those
married? I need
friends-
to know this.
I was married only for like 2 years.
But how long were you together?
We were together for like 7-8 years.
Okay,
so I
great.
certainly knew,
Right.
you know, we had a communal group of friends that we were very close to. We also, I definitely knew their friends.
Yeah.
And they knew my family. I was less close with their family and all of my friends. You know, the person I'm saying my oldest friend in the world married us. Like, that's the
Yeah.
person that, what's the word? Convened?
Officiated?
Yeah. Convened. At our wedding.
Yeah.
And anyway, I just feel like, I think, you know, for every person, a reason or a season. I really don't think we can hold on to our ex as friends. I don't think it's healthy for us.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that person like with a group of friends that they brought in for a Super Bowl party or something more appropriate that involves less head injuries.
Why are the Super Bowl parties causing head injuries?
Well, because of sports, football.
The sport is causing the industry, not the
But
party.
also the party.
What are you doing at your...
And
You
can we
invite a
come?
bunch of your you invite a bunch of your ex's friends over, and you hit them in the head with a baseball bat.
All right.
I was like, I'm starting to see why you don't think it's appropriate to be friends, because the way you handle it is
this
really
is a
upsetting.
non-starter. I really think this is
You really
Wow,
believe that? That's
I would
interesting.
not have instinctively said that, and that's why it's so important for us to have guests on. Because for me, I'm like, I don't know, whoever these people want to be friends with, they can be friends with whoever they want. But I understand what you're saying about friends in, friends out. I think you can still enjoy them from afar. I think you can have a fine relationship with them. Do you need to be BFFs with your ex-boyfriend's college best friend who you didn't know until... Just go make some new friends. I don't think I felt that way coming into this question, but I think you've changed me, and I think I feel that way now.
Well, what is hard? Well, can I ask one more thing?
Please.
What do you think when
I don't know why I
you
get
meet...
permission, not my podcast.
No,
May I
no,
please,
please.
May I please ask one more question? What if, if you ever had where you meet your partner's friend, and then the two of you, it's like they were friends, but the two of you just connect in a way that you're like, we actually are probably more suited to be friends.
Who are you thinking of?
I'm actually not
Which
thinking
of
of
my
anyone.
friends are you thinking of?
I'm not actually all your friends.
Yeah.
I feel like I've connected in a level that you just haven't. No, I don't even have anyone in mind, but you meet someone's friend and then you're like, oh, we're really hitting it off. You still think bye?
I gotta say, I even think, like, let's do an example of friends. I think it, okay, so it's your it's your girlfriend's like acquaintance. They've met 4 times. They've known each other for 2 months. You guys become friends. That makes sense. But even your friends' friends, do you know that thing sometimes people do where like it's like you've been friends with this person for 10 years.
Yeah.
Then that person you introduced to a new friend, and that new friend or old friend start to develop a relationship. They hang out without you. I'm not saying it's not possible or we need to restrict each other. I'm just saying that can be painful.
Yeah.
When that feeling of like, oh my God, so I've just been replaced, especially if it's like that older friend.
Yeah.
But then if you add like something, especially like a marriage, and you know what? There could be exceptions to this. You've been friends with somebody for 20 years or whatever because they were friends with your ex-husband. And so you're like invited to the wedding. It's a one-off.
Yeah.
You
Totally.
know, that's, I think, okay. But this is not your circle of friends.
Right. Okay. I totally
And
get
you must
that.
accept that. I hear that. My ex-partner and I broke up about 2 months ago after dating for nearly a year. I won't go into details about the breakup, but you should know that it ended semi-amicably. There was no cheating or big wrongdoing, just different life paths. The final conversations were difficult, and they definitely said things that weren't super nice, but we decided to end where we could still be friends after going no contact for a little while. I haven't seen or heard from them in 2 months on anything because they're not on social media much, and then suddenly today, I see a photo dump from them where they have 4 pictures that I took. One of which was from a date that we were on a few months ago. Immediately, I was hurt and started crying because it all felt so fresh. I can't help but think that they did this on purpose to make me feel some type of way. But then again, maybe they just really like the pictures of themselves. Am I wrong for feeling like this was on purpose and being hurt? Do I say something to them? How do I move on from this?
Wait, this is an Instagram photo dump. That's what they're talking about?
Instagram photo dump, and then they're not active. This person sounds like they're not active on social media, and then out of nowhere, after this breakup, they did a photo dump on Instagram. 4 of the pictures were pictures taken by their ex.
Here's a question. Why is this person not muted or blocked in
And
the feed?
that's the right question.
Look, man. It can be really hard to see either old photos or new photos.
Yeah.
We don't want to see photos.
I didn't see anything.
Get out of here with the photos.
No, photos are not for your eyes.
I think even a classic short-term block, totally fine.
Yeah.
But certainly a mute.
Certainly.
We don't need. So that's, I guess, it feels a little bit like a self-generated problem that I'm not saying they knew about, but now you have the info. Talk to your friend about it, be upset, and mute.
Yeah. Well, and because I think too, people are like, well, I'll go search their name. And it's like, well, yeah, I used to block an ex, and then every hour on the hour I was searching to see if they post anything new. But you have to actively, every time I would do it, I would be like, Kendahl, why are you doing this? And if you're having an awesome day, nothing's going to smack you in the face. You're going to have to actively go seek something out. I will say, in defense of the ex, I hate to do it. I take a photo I like of myself like once every 4 years.
One of my exes still regularly uses a photo that was taken of them while we were dating and together. At this point, I don't know, 7 years ago, they'll still use it regularly. I'm like, God bless. If you love a photo of yourself, just use it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think it matters, like, unless it's like an offensive photo, like, just use it.
But I think it's hard, kind of what you were saying. Honestly, it's so hard. It's so hard going through a breakup and seeing something. I remember going through a breakup one time, and the person went on their stories and was talking about how they'd hooked up with someone, and they were like making a joke about it. And I was like dry heaving in my bathroom at 19, very upsetting. But anything's going to upset you. Like you said, a new photo, an old photo, something's going to upset you. And if it is them trying to do it to hurt you, it's like better reason to block them.
Yes, you should not care unless you are actively trying to get back with them. It does not matter if they are trying to make you happy, make you sad, make you scared. It doesn't matter what they're trying to do. It is fully irrelevant to you and your life.
I also would say, I think that, just, I don't know if this would be helpful to this person, but like everybody's having this experience. Like, this isn't you.
Yeah.
So therefore, for me, I would err on the side of they're not doing it to hurt you intentionally. And also, just as a RIP to my Google images after having a very public marriage and then ever trying to find a picture of myself ever again. Sure. I will say that it's a lot better now than it used to be because there's a lot of photos now of my wife Katie and I, but for a long time.
Sounds like Getty Images was not kind to you.
Getty, or even just like, and not that one is constantly Googling oneself, but sometimes you're trying to find, well, when did I go to that thing?
Yeah.
What did I wear to this thing?
Yeah. You can't.
R.I.P.
It's tough.
R.I.P.
It's tough.
Really sad stuff.
Oh.
All right, we got time for one more, and then we'll be answering even more of these questions over on our Patreon. So head over there if you're interested. Can you be amicable with an ex and not have feelings for them at all? My current boyfriend finds it weird that my ex-girlfriend and I still communicate. She and I took on shared responsibilities when we were together, as in buying a house and adopting multiple pets.
Oh.
Anytime we communicate, it's about the pets, whether she needs help taking care of them or just a check-in. He thinks if I'm still communicating with her that I still have feelings for her. Her and I mutually broke up. I don't have romantic feelings for her, but he just doesn't believe it.
Man.
No. I think, okay, here's what I think about this. Once you love somebody, I really believe that you always love them. Now, does that mean you want to sleep with them, be in a relationship with them, that you remain, sexually attracted to them? All those things don't necessarily have to happen. But I do believe that, like, the closeness of love, I think that's in there. Indelible mark. Now, I don't know if this person, what I will say is, like, buying a house, having shared pets, like, that's an investment that, for me, I would make if I loved somebody. And so I almost feel like there's, like, a bit of, like, disingenuousness here, not just with their current boyfriend, but, like, with self around, or their current boyfriend, but with self around, yeah, like, you probably love this person. And so does that mean that, like, your relationship is at risk? Probably less so if you can admit that to yourself and to this person. Because I just think otherwise it's like there's a denial thing here that I feel like is a little bit more worrying.
Okay.
Like, we're just checking in on the pets. We're just doing a check-in. It's like you're keeping this person in your life. Why? Is it because you two had love for each other? Okay, well then you probably still do. Does it mean you have romantic feelings? No. But do you see what I'm saying? There's like a distinction here.
Absolutely.
That if she's like, there's nothing there, we're just friends forever, like that doesn't make sense to me.
I think, what does it matter that you bought a house together? I'm like, who cares? Sell the house? What?
Checking in on pets?
Now you're checking in. Why are you checking in? I understand a text if there's like, hey, gotta let you know, dog's in the hospital. They'll send you that. You don't need to check in on the pets, especially if you're not sharing custody of the pets. I just think I'm like, clearly your boyfriend is uncomfortable with it.
Yes.
Probably a reason why your boyfriend is uncomfortable with it. And I think that's something to treat as valid because that's the person you're currently in a relationship with. And even if your boyfriend is like, I just feel jealous, I still think you kind of need to listen to that because ultimately it's normal for your partner to feel jealous or kind of weird if you're like regularly checking in with your ex. You don't share a child.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if there's a human child, that's a different thing.
Well, it'd be different if it was like, well, we made the decision, we're sharing custody of the dogs. But it doesn't seem like that's what's happened. It seems like the dogs are with the other partner. So the checking in, I think you're right, feels a little bit unnecessary. And I think even if you're like, well, because I used to be a little bit like this, a little like insecure attachment. Even if your boyfriend's like motive for this is that there really isn't anything going on between the two of you, but it just stresses him out. I think maybe when you're working on that with him, communicating heavily with your ex is probably not helping that healing for him. You know what I mean?
Doesn't feel respectful.
Yes, I think that's what I'm trying to say is like your current person has to know, you have to level with them. This is somebody I care about. And I care about because of our past. Are you okay with that? Like, are you okay that I received a text message from this person? Are you okay with the idea of me ever meeting up with them? You have to ask the question, or at least this is what I think. You have to ask the question. You have to be open to the answer. And you also have to communicate sort of about every time it's happening. Like, that's what I'm saying. If you're keeping this person close, in any way, I think it's like that's something that has to actually be a part of your current relationship. Like,
Totally.
it can't just be like you off on your own having this experience that you had with your past. It has to be something you'd be willing to share like every detail about how you've interacted.
Because I feel no excitement when I like think of exes I've had. The thought of texting them, there's zero excitement ignited in me. Like there's no motivation or want to do that. Like I'm just like, if I had to reach out to them about something, I'd be like, oh, okay. I can't even think of what I would have to do. But I've never owned a house or dog with anyone else, so maybe that's part of it. But I would not feel to just check in. That would bring nothing except like boredom to my brain. So I think if you're feeling the constant want to do that, like there is something. You're right.
Agreed.
There.
Yeah, this is my thought coming from the opposite end. If it's so important to you that your ex is a big part of your life, then you need to break up with your boyfriend. That is something that you need to bring in at the start of a relationship and be like, hey, I have this relationship with my ex because of XYZ. That's something that's really important to me. I need you to be okay with that. And if you're not okay with that, then we can't date. I don't think it's fair to have this person who has an issue with a very normal thing to have an issue with. And then you be like, no, just stop having your issue. But also I don't need to change it all. I think it has to be like, you either have to prioritize that thing or you have to prioritize your partner. And that is some internal work that you have to do when you make that decision.
Right. I think that's, I guess that's what I'm trying to say about everything that's in my life has to be a part of my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because like my wife gives me permission on stuff. It's like that's, I've learned over time that that's what a marriage actually is when everything that's in my life is in our lives.
Well, and I think people get so scared to be like, I'm in a codependent relationship where my wife controls me. I think people are so scared that they're always like, well, I do whatever I want. And I do whatever.
Actually, I don't even tell her where I am half the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
And it's like, well, that's not a marriage. Did you ever watch Friends?
Yes, in a hotel room, not religiously.
An incredibly hated. It was, we watched it in my home, and there was an incredibly hated character. It was Emily, British, and she was gonna marry Ross, and she was like,
yes.
you can't be friends with Rachel if you're gonna be with me. And everyone was like, she's so tough, and she was hated. People hated, the fans hated her so much because they were taking her away from Rachel. And I remember as a kid being like, Emily just needs to get the fuck out of here. And then at Emily and Ross's wedding, here's a spoiler if you haven't seen it in the last 30 years. He says, I do.
Oh yeah, he says
Rachel's name. And it's like, well, yeah, because he had a good reason. And when I watched this as an adult, the whole time I was like, this poor woman is like begging for him to not see his ex-girlfriend who he's like best friends with, and is very bizarre. So I think most shows you look at now as an adult, you look at the woman who was seen as like the villain kind of girlfriend, and you're like, oh my God, this poor woman. This poor woman.
I think just to like fully clarify what I mean by have it be part of my marriage, my wife and I have completely different circles of friends. We know each other's friends.
Yeah.
We have like completely different hobbies. We do not do hobbies together. We have completely different jobs. Our lives are really separate, and we spend time alone and we spend time together. Yeah. But the thing that I will say is like, there's nothing that's happening in her life I'm uncomfortable with or don't know about. Yeah. So that's what I mean by it has to come into the marriage. And that's why that Ross example is like a great example, because like that's not something that could have been brought into their marriage.
No.
His like obsession and weirdness with Rachel since the beginning of time could not be brought into their marriage.
No.
It just like couldn't be.
No.
No marriage could probably absorb an obsession with someone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's so normal to remember. Wow. All of this I feel like has been like really good, insightful advice.
Good advice.
I don't know.
I think it's been
You look
really good. And I
hot
think you look
and
really
give good
hot. Yeah,
advice.
I agree.
Come on.
I agree.
Two
We
hot
gotta
people
get you in a
saying I'm hot?
pageant.
We gotta get you. Yeah, we got to be a beauty pageant. Kendall and I are gonna strap some fake teeth on you and get you out
Is
there.
this a size joke? Is this because you think
Oh,
it's
it wasn't, but it is
I'm a
now.
big boy.
And
I'm
I'm sorry,
full-grown.
I
I'm
called you a mouse
full-grown.
too, and that was a joke. But then I said, well, maybe that was mean to call them a mouse. You're not the size of a mouse. You're very big and strong and cool, and you're just like Jason Statham.
We're gonna
but-
crawl on your shoulders after this, both of us at the same
number
time.
one, I don't mind at all being called a mouse, because also I'm going to go to the gym later today and I'm going to try to lift like some heavy weights, and that's more impressive the smaller I get. You
That's
know what
true.
I mean? The actual. So I'm going to actually carry this with me. People think I'm tiny. I'm so small, but I'm making eye contact with all the boys in the mirror, and I'm trying to lift with their lifting and then hurting myself. So
Well, and I think probably why I called you a mouse is because from my perspective, I'm flipped where I want to be in my head, I'm the smallest person that's ever lived. Like when I walk through these offices, I'm like, everyone's like, who's that little cutie pie? Who's she so small and sweet and tiny? And I'm absolutely not. That's not what anyone's thinking. I'm massive. I'm very tall, 5'11".
I don't know.
So I seek to be that, and so that's why it was a compliment.
I mean, I see your energy and spirit. I'm much bigger than you. You know what I mean?
Kendahl has a very tiny energy.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to know, other than the gym weight room, where can people find you? Do you have anything you want to plug?
I have a cool thing coming up that I can't even talk to you necessarily about.
Okay.
But keep your ears and your big mouse ears to the ground. I don't know, probably, and I'm touring a bunch in May. In the meantime, best way to find out about this, probably Instagram, because that's where you can post info about things that are happening. Awesome. You know what I mean?
Great.
Sure, I'll TikTok a Rooney about it, but for some reason, that's also now Chinese in a way that feels like that didn't.
I guess it's always been.
I know that didn't bother me until the backdoor dealings that's currently happening.
There's a lot go. Yeah, I wouldn't
So
say
it's not
promoting
that
a
it's
TikTok doesn't mean
I don't care that
yeah.
it's. I actually was fine with China having all my data. I just don't want President dumbass to somehow be related to that.
You don't want America to have
Very
access to your
spooky.
data.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's
Give any of my
exactly
data
right.
to China. I do not care. If you give it to fucking Ivanka, no way.
Yeah, absolutely not. Well, we love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
As
being here.
always, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. And
Thank you for being here.
thank you for being here.
And you can check us out on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Make sure to subscribe if you're on YouTube. And if you're listening, please rate and review us. If you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, we're here at the Spotify offices. We love being here.
We love them.
And thank you so much. And stop talking to your exes.
Okay, happy Monday.